I'm Adam,
And I'm Cupcake.
and this is Where There's a Williams, There's a Way. Hey, Cupcake, are you a fan of haunted houses?
Oh, I love 'em.
Really? That surprises me.
Why?
I don't know. I just didn't think that it would be something that you were into.
Well, I do. Have you ever been to one?
I've been to a few, but I don't get too excited for them. I do have fond memories of my dad making a spooky maze when I was a kid.
Oh, you grew up in Iowa, so it was probably a corn maze, right?
No, I never lived on a farm. The maze was made out of cardboard. We had an extension to our living room that was essentially a storage room.
Okay.
Well, this room had a door on both sides of it, so we built a maze out of the cardboard to get from one side of the room to the other. Then we turned off the lights and boom, haunted maze.
Nothing spookier than a bunch of cardboard.
In today's book, Mouse goes on a joyride in a trick-or-treat bag, but then finds himself alone in a creaky old house that may just be haunted. Let's get started. Haunted House, Haunted Mouse by Judy Cox. Illustrated by Jeffrey Ebbeler. One October night, the doorbell rang. Mouse peeked out of his hidey hole. The night was dark. The dark was spooky. On the front porch stood a fearsome trio, a skeleton, a goblin, and a ghost. But Mouse wasn't scared. His whiskers twitched as he watched. "Trick or treat," said the skeleton. "Trick or treat," said the goblin. "Trick or treat," said the little bitty ghost, and she tripped over her sheet. The three held out their sacks. Dad plopped one piece of candy in each bag. "Thank you," called the kids. The ghost dropped her sack, and goodies spilled out. Mouse's mouth watered. Yum! He wanted trick-or-treats too. While everyone helped the ghost, Mouse scrambled into the trick-or-treat sack. Candy! More candy than Mouse had ever seen. Sour balls, gumdrops, lollipops, and chocolate bars. Mouse closed his eyes and inhaled deeply. His whiskers wiggled. He simply didn't know where to begin. He nibbled on this and noshed on that until his cheeks were as plump as a chipmunk's. Just then the bag swung high in the air. Where were they going? Mouse gnawed a peekaboo hole in the paper sack. Dark clouds flitted over the moon. Jack-o'-lanterns sent beams of golden candle shine flickering across the front lawns. Flocks of trick-or-treaters scurried from door to door. Mouse didn't see the candy leaking out, piece by piece through the peekaboo hole. The sack swayed like a pirate ship in a gale. Mouse's tummy roiled. His head spun. Poor seasick Mouse. The next time the ghost dropped her sack, Mouse staggered out. Do you remember that one Halloween when you dressed up as a giant cupcake? You really leaned into your name.
That was a classic. I couldn't resist the pun, and I think I scared a few kids away with my frosting hat. But it was all in good fun.
Did you have a plan when you were a kid and went trick-or-treating, or did you just walk around the neighborhood?
Oh, I strategized my trick-or-treating routes like a pro so I could bring home an epic candy haul. I always knew where the giant candy bars were coming from.
My daughter always wanted to run between houses so we could cover more ground.
What was your approach as a kid?
I grew up in Des Moines, Iowa, and they do trick-or-treating a little differently.
How? You didn't walk around and get candy?
Yeah, we did, but we had to tell jokes.
You mean you didn't just say trick or treat?
No, I had to tell a joke.
Like a spooky joke?
No, more like cheesy jokes.
So basically, you were training for dad jokes young in life.
Pretty much. Just then it started to rain. First a drizzle, and then a full-out gully washer. The trick-or-treaters dashed for home, holding their coats over their heads. Boom! Went the thunder. Flash went the lightning. Away went Mouse. He darted here and there, dodging raindrops, splashing through puddles. Where could he find shelter? He was lost. He was wet. He was cold. An abandoned house stood by itself down at the end of the street. The door was barely open, just wide enough for Mouse. Lickety-split, he scampered inside. He didn't notice the sign on the front. "Keep out." The door slammed shut behind him. Was that the wind? Or was the house haunted? Mouse tiptoed down the hall to see what he could see. Cobwebs draped over his ears. The house was old. The house was empty. A spooky house filled with creaks and groans and things that went bump in the night. He heard bones rattle. A skeleton dancing. He saw eyes glimmer. A goblin prancing. A pale shape floated past. A ghost haunting?
Finally, we get to the haunted house. That's my favorite part of Halloween.
What was your favorite haunted house that you ever went to?
Well, first of all, it was this creepy old mansion in the middle of nowhere.
Just like in the book.
The guy at the door was dressed as a zombie, but he was really friendly. He handed us these tiny flashlights and told us to stick together. It was so dark in there that I could barely see my hand in front of my face.
That sounds terrifying already. What happened next?
We started walking down this narrow, dimly lit corridor, and suddenly a ghostly figure jumped out at us, screaming. I nearly jumped out of my skin, and my heart was racing.
I can only imagine the look on your face.
Well, as we continued through, there were all these different rooms with different themes. One room had a mad scientist laboratory with bubbling potions, and another had a creepy clown that wouldn't stop following us.
Oh, that sounds spooky.
My heart is racing a little just thinking about it.
Mouse shook. Mouse shivered. Mouse shuddered. He backed up, step by careful step, until he was against the wall, trapped.
Boo!
But Mouse was not afraid. "Boo!" he cried, as bold as a badger. "I'm not afraid of you." Outside the house, the wind blew away the clouds. Moonlight shone in the windows, revealing bamboo wind chimes jiggling. No skeleton. A green frog croaking. No goblin. Torn curtains fluttering. No ghost. The storm was over. Mouse jumped out the window. He was ready to go home to his safe, dry hidey hole. But how could he find his way back? All at once he saw a cherry lollipop shining in the moonlight. He picked it up. Farther down the sidewalk he spied a sour ball, and under the street lamp he spotted a scattered row of candy corn. Piece by piece, he followed the candy trail all the way home. There in his hidey hole, he had a Halloween party of his very own. Good night, spooky night, happy trick or treat. Have you ever had a time when anything particularly funny happened during your visit to a haunted house?
Actually, yes. There was this room that had a floor covered in fake bugs. My friend Jane, who's deathly afraid of spiders, completely lost it. She screamed so loud that everyone in the haunted house turned to look at us. It was hilarious, even though she was terrified.
Poor Jane. I hope she recovered quickly.
Oh, we did. Finally, we reached the exit, and there was this chainsaw-wielding maniac who chased us out. Of course, the chainsaw was fake, but it was still heart-pounding finish to our adventure. We all laughed so hard once we were outside, reliving our frights.
Well, that sounds like a memorable night. I can't believe you willingly went through all that.
That's one of the things that's so fun about haunted houses. It's like you gone through something traumatic with your group and lived about it to tell the tale.
Speaking of telling tales, if you enjoyed us telling the tale from this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. I'm Adam.
And I'm Cupcake.
And this is Where There's a Williams, There's a Way. Did you know, in AD 1 in Rome, Pliny the Younger wrote of his home being haunted by an old man with a long white beard. This recording is only one of the first recorded haunted houses.